Hello, high school hockey fans. We're back again for another edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. I'm Mike Hammett with our panel, who's short one tonight. Dell is here, but Bill Sr. is here. Bill Jr., though, he's got the night off. I don't know, what's he got going on tonight?
Yeah, he's under the weather tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope he gets feeling better. Our games of the week, my goodness, Dell was on the road again. He was at the boys and girls games of the week. Well, Dell, the floor is yours.
Well, on Tuesday night last week, I drove up to River Falls to catch Hudson and the Fusion playing the girls' game of the week. We had a couple streaks going on with this game. Uh, Katarina Donna, the goalie for Hudson, entered the game on 182 minutes and 16 seconds since her last goal. The Fusion came into the game knowing that if they won this game, it clinched their fifth straight Big Rivers Conference title. And the game started, and we expected it to be tight. And the first period showed just how tight it was going to be, as it was still tied at 0 at the end of the one. And Cat's minutes went up to 199 minutes and 16 seconds without a goal. And then it was the second period at 14:05 that the Fusion broke through and ended her goalless streak at 213 minutes, 21 seconds, and took a 1-0 lead in the game. And that was how the second period concluded, was 1-0 Fusion. Fusion jumped out in the second period, scored quickly, 16 seconds in to go up by 2. A little bit later, they scored their third goal to be up 3-0, and then ended up giving up a goal with 19 seconds remaining to make it a final score of 3-1, the Fusion winning. But Katarina Donna, 213 minutes, 21 seconds without giving up a goal. Nothing to sneeze at. And that, could prove something during the playoffs if they got that hot goalie going in. You guys know what a hot goalie can do for a team.
Take you a long, long ways.
And so that was how the girls' game ended. Nice trip up to River Falls. They played at Wildcat Arena. Second time I'd been in Wildcat. Last time I'd actually been there was when my son played for the Wisconsin Pride summer team that went on out, took a road trip to a tournament out in Lake Placid. But yeah, good to get up there, see everybody, and a good game overall. And then on Saturday night, I had a little closer road trip, only an hour down the road, and made it down to Capitol Ice Arena to catch Brookfield coming into Middleton to take on the Cardinals. The biggest thing about this game was it was the Supernova game. Uh, so where they were actually doing a fundraiser, and the funds that were raised were going towards LLS and youth and children's cancer research. And the game ended up raising a little over $8,000 that was going to get donated. And this was actually a fundraiser that got started 5 years ago when uh, one of the players on the Metro Lynx started this. And when she graduated from the Metro Lynx, they took it over at the Middleton Cardinals, and her brother actually helped run it over here for a few years, and he's graduating this year. And I think they kind of picked out a sophomore on the team this year that's going to kind of take it over next year. But with that, even after doing all that fundraising and stuff, there was still a hockey game to be played. And Brookfield took the early lead 22 seconds into the game. Looked like Middleton was going to be able to clear the puck out of the zone, and the player lost control of the puck. And it was Pierce Mayer for Brookfield got the puck and just spun and shot at the same time and beat the goalie to put Brookfield up 1-0, 29 seconds into the game. Later in the game, Charlie Jambor, who was actually the senior that was helping to run this tournament and get the fundraising and everything going, scored a goal to tie the game up at 1, and that's how the first period concluded, was in a 1-1 tie. And the second period, Middleton ended up scoring about a third of the way through the second, actually early in the second period, to take a 2-1 lead, and that's how the second period concluded. The third period got underway, and it remained 2-1 until there was like 3 minutes and 16 seconds remaining in the game. And there was a face-off coming up down in the offensive zone for Brookfield. Their coach called a timeout, pulled the goalie to get the extra attacker on to try to get this game tied up. 10 seconds after they dropped the puck, the Cardinals ended up getting a hold of the loose puck, fired at the length of the ice into the empty net to go up 3-1. Brookfield put their goalie back in late in the game. They ended up on a power play opportunity, pulled their goalie again, and shortly thereafter, Middleton put another puck into the empty net. Brookfield closed out the game with a goal, 12 seconds remaining to make it 4-2. But very exciting game all the way through. And that concludes our games of the week.
All right, thank you very much, Dell. Couple other games that we attended. I made the short trip right down the street here. Had the chance to watch the bragging rights of Highway 51 here in Rock County. Beloit traveled up here to Janesville, and this is a big rivalry game, and it gets pretty heated, and both teams haven't had much success this year, but you know, to them, this is the game. This is the one they want to win. Janesville won the first one. This time around, Beloit got the scoring started first. Nathan Fiebig scored an even strength goal in the first period, just over 10 minutes gone. And it was a 1-0 Beloit lead after one. Janesville in the second period, though, came back with 2 goals from Bryce, 2. And the game had been played pretty good, pretty tame game. But in the third period, penalties got called, and next thing you know, there's goals being scored too. And Beloit ended up putting 3 more goals in the back of the net. 2 even strength and 1 an empty netter. Braden Lane, Jackson Walenga, and Peyton Whalen with the empty netter. These 2 teams split their regular season meetings. Beloit ends up winning this one 4-2 on last Thursday night. And Burglar, you got to see the Badger Lane Conference tournament.
Yeah, we try to take that in whenever we can. We like the conference tournaments. As far as I know, the Badgerland one has been going on the longest. They had 8 teams in their conference, and they would just play each other once and then have a tournament to settle things at the end. Beaver Dam moved out a couple of years ago, so they invited Homestead the last couple of seasons to be an honorary weekend only Badgerland Conference team, just for the purposes of this tournament. But we like going there. For the seating, it's how they do in the regular games, and Springs and Fond du Lac and Neenah had split. They'd each beaten each other one time during the regular season. Yeah, the Ledgers beat the Cardinals but lost to the Rockets, and the Rockets beat the Ledgers but lost to the Cardinals. So they were all at 6-1 in the conference, and whatever tiebreaker they used, put Springs at first, and then Neenah and Fond du Lac were 2-3 or 3-2, whichever. But and the way the tournament broke down, they had to play each other in the semifinals, which left Fond du Lac won that game, so Fond du Lac got to play Fond du Lac Springs for the conference championship. But we also saw the third place game between Homestead and the Nina Hortonville Menasha Rockets. Homestead scored first about halfway through the first period, even though most of the play had been down in the Homestead end. They got a rush up the ice and got the puck to the front of the net, knocked in a rebound to take the 1-0 lead. But Nina tied it up. Mark Sutton tied it up shortly after that. First period ended up 1-1. And then from then on, it was just all Nina Hortonville Menasha Rockets. They ended up scoring 7 more goals in that game to win 8-1 and take third place in their conference tournament. And then they had their all-conference awards ceremony. Like to be there for that. We get the pictures of the first team, second team, honorable mention. They do an academic team also, as well as a player of the year and coach of the year. The player of the year was goaltender for Fond du Lac, Spencer Schober. And the coach of the year was Nick Tank from Waupun. And then the championship game came after that. And I think Armani Fisher from Springs was maybe had a little chip on his shoulder because he was second team all conference, and the goalie for Fond du Lac was the player of the year. So I think Armani Fisher decided to show everybody that, maybe perhaps he should have been rated a little bit higher than he was. And he scored 3 times on the player of the year, to get the hat trick in that game and lead Springs to a 5-0 win in that championship game. It was a fairly even fought game. It just Springs just had the higher skilled players on the front end, particularly Armani Fisher. He was everywhere in that game. Really dominated the play in that game, and so they ended up winning that game. And then that was a 4:00 game, so it was like dinner time when that game got done. And I know who you guys are. I mean, if you're gonna go to eat in a city you're not quite familiar with, you look around the rink to see what sort of restaurants are advertising at the rink. I always like to do business with the businesses that support hockey. So we looked up there at the rink, and there was Geno's and Friar Tuck's. They shared one banner up there, and they're right next to each other on Johnson Street in Fond du Lac. And we'd been to Friar Tuck's a couple of times, and Geno's a couple of times back when Bob was at Marion in Fond du Lac. And I think last time Brett and I were in Fond du Lac doing a game, we went to Friar Tuck's. So I asked my work buddy, Joe, who lives in Fond du Lac and his kid plays for Springs. I asked him Backyard Bar and Grill. That was the other place up there. So is a Backyard Bar and Grill, will we like that? And he said, if we like Friar Tuck's, then we'll really like the Backyard Bar and Grill, because it's like that, but bigger and wider selection. And we did. It's a big place. They have a very wide and varied menu. Bill had the Reuben, because whenever he's at a new restaurant, he has the Reuben, because that's his way of gauging if a restaurant's any good. They had some sort of weird salmon thing. It was a mojito salmon open face sandwich that was actually quite delicious. So we were really happy with that. Happy with the tournament. I know we at the same time that the Badgerland is going on, the girls Eastern Shores tournament is going on. And Dell, you were at least at the championship game for that. I think I saw an article that you put up for that.
Actually, I wasn't at the championship game. I got the championship team picture for it, and so I went through the score sheet to come up with my story. on
Oh,
it and everything. Because that was the same day I was down at Middleton for the boys game going on. But you brought up about Bill having that Reuben sandwich before the Brookfield Middleton game. I ate at Tanner's Bar and Grill there in Middleton that used to be Quaker's Steak and Lube and stuff, and had a great Reuben sandwich.
I don't know about you guys, but I kind of like Reuben sandwiches.
I don't think I'd order one if I didn't like it.
Oh, yeah. I do
So
like it.
so MJ, I think the next thing on the list is under your name.
I see that. The Best Western Premier Park Hotel Players of the Week. And I got our two winners of Players of the Week. On the guys' side, Charlie Jamber of Middleton. I believe he just came up in the conversation a little bit ago. On Saturday, he scored 2 goals in that 4-2 win over the Brookfield Stars. Also, he was part of the Supernova game where over $8,000 was raised. So Charlie Jamber, he had a great game on a great fundraiser. He had 2 goals in the 4-2 win over Brookfield Stars. He was the Best Western Premier Park Hotel Players of the Week on the boys' side. And on the girls' side, it's a girl that I've got to see play before, and I come away impressed with her. That's Charlotte Featherston of USM. Charlotte on Thursday had 2 goals and assists in a 4-3 win over Bay Area. And then 2 goals on Saturday in a win over the Warbirds, a 2-1 win over the Warbirds. So they needed both of her goals to get a win, and they were able to do that. So Charlotte Featherston, congratulations to you, kiddo. You are the girls' Best Western Premier Park Hotel Player of the Week. Yes, I did see her a couple weeks ago when they came down here. She played for US. She plays for USM, and she's a good skater, shoots the puck well, and very nice player. She's definitely somebody you know when she's on the ice because she's got a little bit of speed to her. Top sixes.
would that have been in the championship game then of the Eastern Shores?
Yes, that 2-1 win over the Warbirds was an overtime victory for the championship game. The 4-3 was a semifinal game of the conference tournament. Like the boys Badgerland Conference Tournament in Great Northern, the conference teams play each other once during the regular season, and then they play the conference tournament at the end of it. So, and as Burglar and Junior have pointed out numerous times, they'd love to see more of the conferences be able to do something like that. One, it benefits the teams a little bit because they're able to kind of open up and add a couple other games in there that they wouldn't actually get, and then still be able to get that conference tournament in.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know down here in this part of the woods, that would be really something to watch, like that kind of tournament in the Big Eight and also in the Badger large and small. Be a good tournament, even in the Classic 8. I'd like to see that, but I don't make those decisions. However, one thing I do know is Burglar has the decisions that have been made on the top sixes of the week. And Bill, this is usually where Junior steps up and says, hey, this is what we got. He's not with us. Well, we're going to keep it in the family and we'll give it to you.
Yeah, he took a cue out of Dell's playbook, and he's been sending out reminders every Sunday to the coaches to get their votes in, and so we're getting a very large number of voters every week, which is good. And with the large number of voters, the rankings, especially this time of year, don't change a whole lot. By now, as Denny Green would say, they are who we thought they were. And in Division 2 right now, New Richmond, Oregon, Amory, St. Mary Springs, 1, 2, 3, and 4, just as they were last week. Tomahawk moves up one spot to number 5, River Falls. Conversely, moves down one spot to number 6. Also receiving multiple votes in there were Lakeland, Menominee, and Mosinee. On the girls' side, Superior, again, is unanimous pick at number 1. 2 through 5 have not changed. Central Wisconsin Storm 2, Bay Area Ice Bears 3, St. Croix Valley Fusion 4, Hayward Hurricanes 5, and University School jumps into the rankings. Probably on the strength of that Eastern Shores Conference Championship. They are out there now at number 6. They were not ranked They were not ranked last week. Also receiving multiple votes for the girls were Hudson and Western Wisconsin. Division 1, same 2 at the top. Chippewa Falls number 1, Spash Panthers number 2. Eau Claire Memorial moves up a spot to number 3 at the expense of Bayport, who moves down a spot to number 4. Madison Edgewood stays at 5, and Hudson moves into the rankings. They were not ranked last week. Hudson is now at number 6. I think they replaced Brookfield from last week. Also receiving votes were Brookfield and Notre Dame Academy. So those are your top 6s. Not a whole lot of movement, but you don't really expect a whole lot of movement at this time of year.
I know Spash on Saturday night had to go overtime, but they knocked off Verona. And earlier in that week, it might have been a day or two before that, Verona knocked off Madison Edgewood. So, they Verona Wildcats seeing a little bit of the action on a D1 level with ranked teams and being very competitive. Didn't get votes to be mentioned, but still very competitive in Division 1. Notre Dame guys, I just you just don't know with them. They're a young team, but you know what? They're starting to come around and things are starting to click for them a little bit. And, guys maybe starting to figure out a few things. And Notre Dame Academy, I mean, they're defending D1 champions. I don't put it past them to make a run at it again this year. I don't like, I'm not saying they're gonna, but you know what? They're gonna go deep in the playoffs. You just watch.
Well, they're sitting there with a 13-8-1 record. Their opponent's win percentage is about a 683, and that's on the stats that I keep in a little bit of a spreadsheet here, where I actually do go out and pull out their opponents where they're overplaying against some of the Michigan teams and everything. So they're got a nice record. I mean, nothing to be sneezed at. Verona, you mentioned, is sitting there at 13-8-0, a 619 winning percentage, and their opponents are a 626. So it's not like either of those teams are playing weak teams and stuff. They're playing teams that are keeping their record above 500.
Mm-hmm.
So and that all comes to benefit when you get into the playoff section, because you've been playing tough teams all along.
You look at Chippewa Falls.
Yeah, and when you've got if you've got good coaching and a young team, they show a lot of improvement over the course of a season. Sophomores by the time they've got 15, 20 games in, they're almost like juniors by then. They really grow up a lot, in those first couple of years.
We got here. Bayport went down 1, Eau Claire Memorial went up 1. And I was going to say about Chippewa Falls, you look at that conference they play in, Big Rivers. They've got Eau Claire Memorial, they've got Hudson. And those two, they got to play those two teams twice each time.
Well, and then you've got New Richmond that they have to play. New Richmond's the defending D2 champs. They play them twice out of that conference.
Yeah. New Richmond is always seems to be hanging around, and Last year they got over the hump, and this year they're right there again.
And you look at, their Chippewa Falls, Eau Claire, Memorial, non-conference schedules, it's tough teams. You're sitting there, Eau Claire Memorial's opponents winning percentage is like 590. Uh, Chippewa Falls is at 570, Edgewood's 581, Stephen Point's 569. So I mean, you got, strength of schedules, really nice on that.
You know what? You look at that with Chippewa Falls, Spash, Eau Claire Memorial, and Hudson. There's four teams that they all in the same sectional, right?
Yeah, only one of them's going to make it to state.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make. Only one of them's going to make it to state. I mean, you're looking at three other good teams that aren't going to make state. And it's almost a
Yeah.
crime that it is that way, but you know, it's a
Um,
dogfight out of that. We'll talk about that next week.
One thing that I wanted to bring up is Superior had two games this week that uh shout out to Sheboygan and University School both that uh played Superior tough, and uh two ties for Superior this week. A 3-3 tie Friday night against Sheboygan and a 1-1 tie against USM on Saturday. And I watched quite a bit of that uh Superior Sheboygan game after the the next morning, going on Live Barn, the recorded thing, and those were both double overtime. They went, played two overtimes in both of those games and still ended up with the tie.
What do we got here, guys? Upcoming games of the week. Girls on Friday, Brookfield Glacier at Cooley Region.
Yep.
And
Two of the
go ahead.
teams that's two of the teams I haven't seen this week. Actually, I will be traveling tomorrow and going up to Hudson, a nice little road trip, because Western Wisconsin's playing at Hudson. Uh, I haven't seen Western Wisconsin play in person yet this year, so I'll catch them on Tuesday. Uh, but Hudson was our game of the week last week. We try to spread that around a little bit. Brookfield Glacier and Cooley Region, neither one have been part of our games of the week, and I haven't seen either one of those teams play in person this year yet. So I will catch both of them. And then on Saturday, I do plan on making it up to Burglar's neck of the woods and going to Greenheck and seeing the Central Wisconsin Storm host the Lakeshore Lightning. And that will mean that I have seen all 27 girls team play live at least one time this season.
Oh, you are a traveling man. Bill, are you I take it you're going to be in Great Northern Conference Championship?
You would be wrong.
Oh,
Bill
okay.
Jr. will be there. I will be otherwise engaged with the lovely Mrs. Berg. We will be over at an event over in the Twin Cities. So
Okay.
I will not be there. He'll be taking that on. Again, that's in Mosinee. He'll at least be there for the third place game and the championship game of that, and hopefully the awards ceremonies, which I believe they also do in between the third place game and the championship game. We're also trying to decide what we're going to do on Thursday. Thursday, the couple of representatives from the Badgerland Conference will be heading over to take on Wisconsin Valley Conference opponents. Nina Hortonville Menasha will be playing Thursday night against at Marathon Park against Wausau West, and the Fond du Lac Cardinals will be facing Stevens Point, the Spash Panthers down in Stevens Point. Right now, we're leaning towards the Fond du Lac Spash game. Nothing against Nina or Wausau West, but I think we've caught at least 3 Wausau West games already this year, and I have not seen the Spash Panthers in person yet, and I do want to see them before the playoffs start. So I think we're going to end up going down to KB Willett on Thursday for that game. Not as a game of the week, but just as a game that we want to see.
There's nothing wrong with that. The more we see, the better. Let's go on. Final thoughts. I was going to ask Dell. I know we talked quite a bit about the Hobie Baker um, character awards, and are we still taking nominees, or are we still taking?
Yep, they actually are able to get their last nominations in by tomorrow, for the Hobie Baker, and I mean the numbers had improved a little bit. At talking to Jim Hayes last week, hopefully some more went in and everything. But all the coaches, boys and girls side, have until tomorrow to be able to get their votes in for the Hobie Baker.
It's kind of an important award.
Oh, so those numbers you gave us weren't the finals.
No, those weren't the finals. They still had time to get them in.
Okay.
Till tomorrow. And then speaking of awards, I know that Junior and I have both been emailing coaches, reminding them to get their write-ups in for the Unsung Hero Awards, the Adam Burrish on the boys' side and the Rachel Kenyon on the girls' side. And I've been talking to my coaches about the girls' awards, the girls' WIPH awards and stuff. So, of course, it's hard to believe that season's wrapping up this Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty fast. It's flown right by.
Guys, we give lots of shout outs, we to the referees for the things that they do and the time that they dedicate, the coaches, the players and everything. One that I think that we sometimes take for granted and neglect are our paramedics and our EMTs that take their time, and the trainers that are at these games. And one of them struck pretty close to my heart this week. I got a message from my cousin whose granddaughter plays for the Badger Lightning, and she got injured up there at Black River Falls on Saturday evening. But the paramedics that were there were able to take her in and took good care of her. And that happens at all of our rinks. These paramedics are there with their time, and they take good care of these players and the referees when they go down on the ice and get injured. And I just want to give a shout out to them.
And the thing is, Del, these people had to be ready at a moment's notice, because I'll tell you what, things can happen quick, and they usually do. You get one on one bench that's hurt, and then you got to hurry up and go over on the other side. This one's hurt too, and they do an excellent job of keeping up on that stuff. And I know at least down here, when they go through a concussion baselining for the season, I mean, that's one thing they really keep an eye on is concussions and the possibility of having one. So concussions are something they very much take as serious.
Well, and that was it with this one. This player did end up with a concussion and a neck brace right now. But that's the worst of it. We're pretty. You got to be really grateful and stuff. So, but yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we gave a shout out to those EMTs and paramedics that are there doing their job.
I just agree with you, Del, that I can't believe this is the last week of the regular season. My goodness. And what are we, February 4th, 5th? February 5th is we're doing this. And February 29th, we're doing state games. I mean, things are really starting to ramp up here.
Are you saying that 3 weeks from tomorrow we'll be heading down to Madison?
Pretty much.
Alrighty.
Madison, you are on notice.
So that means no sleep for MJ till after that?
I got I'm gonna be there. I'm looking forward to state this year, especially after the way it went last year. Um, last year I didn't know what to expect, but you know what? I thought all in all, it really turned out well, and I'm really looking forward to it again this year. But I'm sure we'll talk about that more when the tournament comes around. So, guys, you guys have anything else you got to get off your chest?
I don't think so.
No, I'll take that as a no. Del, you good?
I think I spoke enough tonight.
Okay, more than what you normally do. All right, for Burglar and Dell, Bill Jr., hopefully he's on the mend. I'm Mike Hammett. Catch you next week. Oh, yeah, we're gonna do the playoff preview next Monday night, correct?
Yes.
Okay, next Monday night.
Yes, where we get to pretend like we know stuff about every team in every region.
In
And
other words-
people generally call us on it on when they
In other words, the BS meter will be on live.
Yeah, that's true. So next Monday we'll have that going here. We'll do the sectional previews and all that stuff. So, guys, good show. We'll talk to you guys again next Monday. For you, the listener, thank you very, very much for spending time listening to us on this podcast. Sometimes we run a little long or ramble a little bit, but hey, we appreciate you guys listening. We'll be back next week. So come join us next week for another edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey.